Hello guys, and welcome back to this new video. So today we are going to talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, and so we shall start. Here we are with the 10 curious facts, possibly unknown facts on his life. Let's jump straight into it. So point number one, as many of you will know at this point, Napoleon was Italian. His family had moved to Corsica, that then belonged to Genoa, in 1567. And his family was from Tuscany, but they moved there. So he never forgot to be Italian, right? However, the sympathy towards Italians and Italy wasn't so much there. One time he said, "Do not let them," meaning Italians, "forget that I am the master, that I can do whatever I want. That's necessary for all people, but especially for Italians," because apparently Italians were renowned as people that would not easily obey. And this statement is also indicative of the character, of the personality of Napoleon. Why am I saying that? Very simply because he was the second of the 8 children that survived from the union, the marriage between Maria Letizia Randino and Carlo Maria Bonaparte. And the reason why Napoleon became Napoleon in the end is that the first child, the one that was supposed to be more a leader in the family, did not have indeed that type of personality and had been destined to the clergy. And so Napoleon was sent to the military to make a career over there, and then he became Napoleon. Point number 2, was he really short? This seems to be more of a slender than anything else, and a slender that might have been spread around and about by the English people. Napoleon was tall 1 meter and 68 centimeters, and at the time that height was 3 centimeters taller, higher than the average height. That would be 1 meter and 65, and he would still be slightly taller than Nicolas Sarkozy, who used to be president of France. Point number 3, many have spread the rumor that he stole the Gioconda, also known as Mona Lisa. In reality, we do know that Mona Lisa was taken to France in 1517, so that was under the kingdom of Francis I. So Napoleon didn't steal the Mona Lisa. However, he was an art lover, and being so, he decorated all Josephine's rooms with pieces of artwork. Certainly, this reputation comes straight from the fact that Napoleon and his army would conquer and would seize pieces of artwork everywhere, especially from Italy. Point number 4. If you have, an understanding, an idea, a picture, a mental picture of who Napoleon was, you are certainly going to remember that his hand is always placed like this. So he has like one finger out and the rest of the hand inside the waistcoat. Now that was ascribed to different reasons of the course of time. Somebody has suggested that might be due to a form of ulcers or digestive problem that Napoleon suffered from. But in reality, we do know that was a pretty common habit at the time. A habit that people of a certain social standing would have when depicted for their portraits. Point number 5 is something I thought was like so interesting, is that his name is Napoleon, but in the household he was called Napoleon. And so if he had to have a nickname, that would be probably Napoleon. Point number 6. He was an innovator, and when he wasn't an innovator himself, he certainly promoted the development of new ideas. So here we're talking about his military campaign and the fact that he needed food for a long period of time. And that is how Nicolas François Appert came up with the idea of preserving food in cans. For that invention, Nicolas François Appert won 12,000 francs at the time, so quite the sum, but well deserved. To him, we do have the invention of preserving food in a way that lasts for a very long time, so we can store it in our cabinets and on our shelves. Point number 7. Very, very important, sometimes underestimated in its importance, is certainly the fact that his campaign in Egypt recovered the so-called Rosetta Stone. And that is extremely important because from then onwards we're going to have the science or sciences related to ancient Egyptian, right? So for instance, Egyptology, right? And we started to decode their language, starting exactly from that Rosetta Stone, which contained directly translations into at least the Greek, and Greek was known, and that's how we got to the point of like being able to read and interpret ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Point number 8. Point number 8 is why really Napoleon was so important. There is, of course, a stature of Napoleon as this great leader, and especially like military leader. There's this stature of a man that loves Josephine and is completely devoted to her, but is also extremely calm. He would reply to letters like 3 weeks after receiving them. For 3 weeks he wouldn't even open those letters, waiting for things to solve by themselves, right? So we do have a certain amount of information that we do know about Napoleon, but certainly one thing is he should be credited for is the set of reforms that go from 1800 to 1804. That is the set of reforms that really were concerned with centralize the power. So getting it back from a decentralized, spread out, very thin sort of power during the revolutions to centralize all the power in a bureaucratic mechanism that could give birth to the formation of a proper state or nation the way we know it. There's that. There's of course war concerns education, and so the fact that young noble man or young men belonging to bourgeoisie could access to the so-called lycée, so to what would be our high school, and there was all of that. Now, education was pretty much free, however, not necessarily for poor people, and apparently not even for women, at least not yet. I feel like they had their private tutor, but certainly this is a point, and a point that is worthwhile remarking here because of the secession. So Napoleon, though in favor of divorce was not really that much used as a practice, but though in favor of divorce, and though his laws would prescribe divorce, would say that the woman doesn't have the same authority and the same power of men. For instance, you know, that women needed to be obedient, and that if they wanted their equal parts in the succession, then the consent of their husbands was necessary. So not the best pro-women, not the best feminist on earth. Anyway, point number 9. He was not suffering from olerophobia, which is like the phobia, the fear of cats, but he was certainly superstitious, and that is probably how we ended up having the misconception of Napoleon being you know, phobic, but he was certainly superstitious. So in other words, no black cats could cross his path. And then point number 10 is like quite interesting, because there's a guy, and this is a doctor urologist at Columbia University, or at least he was. I'm not really that sure if he still holds that position, but he, John Latimer, put forward the thesis that he bought Napoleon's penis for $4,000, and that it was relatively small, and that the interaction would augment the size by 2 centimeters. Now that goes against what Jean Talk has said. So, and what he said, in other words, was that is just, you know, urban legend, metropolitan legend, because we can't really be that sure unless we go and exhume the body, which has never been done. But the whole tragedy, the whole drama about actually started way back when Vignati, that was in the convent where Napoleon died, wrote a piece of paper, and that is known as the posthumous peregrination of Napoleon's penis. So there's the article. I'm gonna link it below so that anyone who wants can go and check it out for themselves. Now guys, with that being said, that's it. Those were 10 unknown facts on Napoleon. I hope sincerely you have enjoyed this video. We're gonna talk next time with a new one. Bye!